Oh, hey there. Sitting there waiting to go live. Just boom, there you are. Um, Lately, I've had to wait like a minute and a half for this thing to kick in. So kind of gapped out there for a second. So my apologies. So this is kind of a follow-up video. So we've been going through the process of going through the government auctions and just trying to pick up a vehicle for Turo. And inadvertently, we impulse purchased a vehicle that is really for Turo. So it's one of those things where came home from work today, sitting back on the computer, and I put a bid in on a pickup truck, which I kind of want anyways, but I wanted a van. I've been really looking for a Transit Connect, but to try and find a Transit Connect cheap is almost impossible. So it's one of those things where I was going to go get myself a minivan, which we've been talking about in the past, something from 2013 and above. But they seem to be going for that $8,000 to $15,000 mark as of late. Don't know why. You can get into an SUV for a little less money. So it's one of those things where hard to justify from that standpoint. But I thought I'd take a minivan, fold the seats down, put a skid in, gear in for HVAC services. Nice, easy van to work. Go with the Transit Connect. But the Transit Connects have gotten higher in kilometers, and they're actually a little harder to come across on parts right now. So if I needed to get a head gasket done, or if I had to do an alternator, or a few other little things on a Transit Connect, it could be a little bit troublesome. But even so, it's a vehicle that's on my little hit list of something I'd like to have at some point. So I'm using that as basically an excuse to say, well, I bought a pickup truck, which I'm in the neighborhood of Atwood, kind of a rural area. So pickup trucks kind of fit in. So it's one of those things where inadvertently I'm going to blend. So I went to government auctions, well, government deals. I'll leave a link down below. And we bought ourselves up a 2012 Sierra GMC 1500. Just a standard municipality truck. It's automatic, air conditioning, roll down windows, old school style, so we know they work. 220,000 kilometers on it. Not the big V8, just 4.3 liter little V6, which is actually an engine I'm very familiar with, so we're okay on that one. It did show in the video that it was running, and it only had one warning light on it, which is pretty impressive for the timeline, that is. Normally, when you're looking at these government auction vehicles or the court vehicles that go through, usually they do have just about every light on them because the batteries have gone dead. And there could be an issue with it as well, but traditionally, the issue is related to being in storage for an extended period of time. And this particular truck, for whatever reason, was removed from service in 2003 and then sat. So don't know why, but it is what it is on that one. So it means that essentially I'm going to be doing tires and brakes, which is great. I like to do that out of the gate anyway, so no problem from there. Glass is good. It's got a couple little nicks and dings on it because it was originally used for, I think, have a little look. So it is, the vehicle that went past it had all the graphics attached to it. I'm almost certain this was used for doing yard work. I don't think it was actually used for highway repair. So it looks like your standard bare bones work truck. So that's what we're doing today. So now we've got to go through, because it's the first vehicle I bought off of a government auction, which I actually like this because it's a good experiment. It's about an hour's drive away, which is great. So I'm not going into Ottawa. I'm not going into North York. That's kind of one of the reasons why I thought, okay, I'll put a bid on it. It did go through, I went through, yeah, and again, we're doing no script. It's just general chit chat. So I do apologize for that. So we went through VMR Canada for values. So I picked the truck up for under $2,000, and then we add in a couple little fees. So the fees overall are going to be about $300, which is going to be about $2,400 once I pay for a wire transfer to be able to pay for this. So we're going to be into it for $2,500. So at $2,500, I didn't test drive it. I couldn't get a condition report on it. All I can see is some photos, and they put a little video up of it actually key turning over and cranking and then running for a little while. So I'm sure it's probably going to be a nightmare, but it is what it is, right? So we're going to be fine there. It needs a couple little things just from looking at it. So it needs a little bit of rust repair, but that's pretty normal in Southern Ontario. It does look like they coated the living daylights out of it. So it's got either a conspicuously large amount of undercoating and oil sealed hide issues, which I don't think that's the case. I think literally this looks really old. I think they've sprayed it at one point and it's just managed to get all muddy and filthy. So I think underneath it, I think I'm okay. It still has a catalytic converter, which I always like to look for these things because when they sit out in a yard in this neck of the woods, you wouldn't think it, but snip, snip, people steal the catalytic converters. It just happens. So this one has it, which is great. Tires are bald, and they're aged out anyways. And the brakes are probably seized. I'm going to assume that. But a nice thing is I think on this one, it's the standard discs from GM at the front. Nothing exotic, so it's pretty straightforward there. And I think there are drums in the rear. If that's the case, it should be a pretty easy brake job. For safety stuff, I do need to fix a couple little issues with the body. It's got a couple little areas on the sills, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. So it's one of those things where I think it'll clean up okay. Now I've got a pile of HVAC equipment that I picked up back in December, and I want to do a little business up where we're going to do duct cleaning and basic maintenance, cleaning out AC filters, things along that line. Just basic home care from that standpoint. I was looking for a Ford Transit, like a 2012, which I kind of like the boxy style, and they usually have racks in the back. But they're so hard to come by where they haven't either been beaten up, or either if it's a dealer that's got it, they seem to think they're worth $6,000 to $12,000. And I'm looking and going, it's over, usually over on kilometers, like 200K mark, 300K mark is normal. So, well, this is a good option for that. So we're going to give this one a try. So the way I figured, if I've got to put a couple grand into this truck and make it drivable and safe and, easy to kind of maintain, I'm probably going to be able to get a year out of this pretty comfortably without anything major from that standpoint. It doesn't have a lot of options. So it's one of those things where I should be able to get out of the truck in that 1 year period if I need to. So in other words, if I find that I come across a nice van or I go, oh, I don't want to be doing HVAC or I don't want to be doing service work, then I can kind of move out of it. I do need to go find a topper for it. But I went on Facebook. Facebook seems to be pretty easy to find a topper for an 8-foot box, as long as it's really ugly, for like under $200. So I'm going to paint the truck anyways, which make a fun YouTube video. So we're going to do some YouTube videos on this anyway. So we'll do some content. Because as strange as it is, I notice that when I do repair work on my Jag, or when I do on the Cruise, when I did the reconditioning on that, it seems to get a fair bit of views for whatever reason. And then you kind of migrate on over to the live sessions that I do here. So I think this will probably be a good one to do content with it. I'm already on Kijiji looking for a set of tires and a nice set of rims. And again, it does need to get a little bit of paint work, but I think it's one of those things where it's going to be a hand painted truck. I'm thinking, again, just because of the price point and because of the price point essentially, and the age. Like really, when you're looking at a vehicle in this area, because it's not a dressed up luxury truck, it's not a dream machine. That's what I'm getting at. It's just going to be somebody at the end of the day, like myself, it's going to kind of go, I just want to be able to drive it 30 feet away. It's got to look decent, and it's got to be solid. In other words, there can't be any holes in the body and no damage from that standpoint. And It's not going to cut polish. It's not going to shine up. It's going to be one of those things where I will go out with a pad and rough everything up, and then probably do a trim clad or go to the tractor supply place and pick up a nice red paint, make it sporty, and turn it into a project truck. So that'll probably be our summer ride to kind of play with for a little while, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But I feel pretty confident about it. So it's one of those things where worst case scenario, we just bought a truck that doesn't run and drive, but I think it does. So that's okay. It's probably going to need a little bit of work, which is fine. It's taking the budget that I had set aside for a work van, and well, that's okay as far as that's concerned. Originally, I did want to get something in a van that's 2013 and above, and then run it on a Turo for a little bit. But I don't think I could find a minivan or a Ford Connect for under my budget here. So I'm going to be under 5,000 when it's all said and done. I still have taxes to pay on it during registration, so it's going to be one of those little hurdles as well. And we'll go from there. Again, that was an impromptu, but I'm going to tell you it was fun because I actually used ChatGTP. Yes, actually helped me out with the bidding process. So while we were going through the whole process and looking at the truck, we were actually bidding it live with ChatGTP, and ChatGTP was chirping in and giving me some advice, like don't go over your budget, which is really a cautionary tune, which we actually stayed within. So we had set a budget of, actually, we did go over the budget a little bit. We set a budget of $1,800. So we did go a little bit over, but again, the excitement of it all, right? So, but glass is good. Power windows should be fine because it's the roll-up ones. There shouldn't be anything there. It's got an AC button, so maybe it's got air conditioning. That might be interesting to see if that works. Typically on these little Sierras, at least when I worked at General Motors, the work truck versions are almost bulletproof. So I don't see it as a huge issue as far as the engine and driveline is concerned. I know they have a problem with water pumps. They've got a little bit of valve noise occasionally, but usually it's nothing major, and the 4.3 is pretty old. It's an ancient engine. It's been around forever. So there's none of that crazy little variable valve timing thing where one cylinder turns off and the other cylinder doesn't have that. It's just a truck, right, from that standpoint. Power steering, they did a turn. It wasn't winding, so we'll be pretty excited about that. It's a little visually, I always find the 8-foot boxes to be a little odd, just because the truck looks smaller at the front. Once you put a topper on it, I think it'll balance out the look of the truck a little bit. But again, an 8-foot box is perfect if you're a general contractor. So if you want to put drywall in it, it does work. The box itself, it's got a couple little bumps and bruises on it. Again, that's going to be the get out there with a little sandpaper, little spray, make it look nice and pretty. You know, from that 30 feet away, we'll go from there. But I think I'll make a fun project as far as that's concerned. Also, it's a good one to look at and go, what can you really buy in Southern Ontario, which is, to be honest with you, almost nothing for under $5,000. Like in today's marketplace, it's slim pickings as far as that's concerned, even on the wholesale end of it. So again, this is kind of that. This is probably the cheapest entry into a 2000s pickup truck, and we're in 2012, so we'll go from there. So that's the excitement of it all. I still have another bid out on an SUV. So again, that one's down in Kingston. So that one would be a Kijiji one as far as that's concerned. Again, I was kind of hoping to combine the two and say, okay, well, let's run this on Kijiji for the next 6 months, pay the taxes off, pay off some of the cost to fix it. But at this price point, it's a 2012. It doesn't qualify. The kilometers are just a little bit over. But I think it's a safe bet from that standpoint. We'll have fun with it, and we'll just hit the scrapyard a couple times. We'll go to the U-Pull-It yard. So I've already been on. Let's have a little look here. So I've already been to U-Pull. I've already been going over the inventory they have down in Hamilton, Ontario. So we'll go for a car ride. That'll be fun. On trucks that are available there. So we might get ourselves a fancy bench seat because this one's got a little wear and tear to it. Or we'll learn how to stitch. Show you actually. We'll find out when we go to the scrapyard. So when we're going to the scrapyard, we're going to find a few little things we need to get tires and rims. So if we can find something with really low K and a good date on it, we'll pick it up there because that'll be a couple $100. We'll pick up a seat if we can. That'll probably be $100, a couple $100 worth of trim pieces to make it look decent. And it looks like they've got a couple of trucks down there that have some fancy bits on it, like a little hood guard, some vent shades, a couple little things that we can pick up on the cheap to dress the truck up a little bit. And again, the idea here is not to break the bank, but just to make it presentable. So again, from that 30 feet away, you're going to go, hey, that's a pretty decent looking work truck. Go from there, right? So hopefully that'll kind of give you an idea where we're up to. I felt excited about it, which is why I thought I'd do a video. So paperwork, I'm going to go to the bank. We're going to do a wire transfer. So I thought that was weird. So the government auction doesn't do credit cards on purchase of vehicles. So if you're out there and you think, why wouldn't they? Well, they don't. So you have to do a wire transfer, which is no big deal. But if your intent was to go ahead and put a car on credit, and you wanted to put it on your credit card, it could be a hurdle from that standpoint. But it is what it is at this price point. So again, it'll be a fun project to get into. We're going to go through the process, which I like doing this one because it's an hour drive. Learn the hurdle on the payment process. So it takes 24 hours for this to go through, which means I can't pick the truck up tomorrow. It has to be sometime next week. They do a 10-day out, which means I can pick it up within the 10 days, which is fine. But it takes 24 hours for the payment process to go through this particular auction. Then I have to get a release, and then I've got to go out to my insurance company. Then from my insurance company, we go to the motor vehicle department, pay some taxes. They won't like that. Go from there, and then we have to go ahead and get a temporary plate, which in Ontario is a steel plate now, it's a regular plate. But it gives us 7 days to get it safetied, which we're probably not going to do in the 7 days, to be honest with you. We're probably going to have to do some body work on it before it goes in for safety. So we're probably looking at 30 days to maybe even 60 days because I do this on the side, kind of after work and on weekends. So this might be a 2-month project, 8 weeks, and we'll go from there. Okay, so again, thank you for taking the time. So again, bought a cool truck. We'll see if it's cool or not. But we bought a truck, so that's kind of fun from there. And we bought it with the aid of using ChatGTP, and I think we did okay. So we'll see on Monday or Tuesday what the truck looks like. Now we've got to hunt down a volunteer, which actually I can never seem to find. So I put an ad up on Kijiji to find a driver. So we'll see if we can get somebody that'll give me a lift for an hour and a half drive and have a nice little conversation about cars. That's usually what happens. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be somebody that I actually work with, which is normally what happens. So I put it up on the Kijiji in kind of local little setting. And then traditionally somebody, Mr. Singh, will pick up the ad and go, hey, I could make a few bucks. And it's easy from that standpoint. So going to Kingston or going to Ottawa, a little harder when it comes to actually trying to get a vehicle. To get this towed, it would be about $600. So getting down there and being able to throw a plate on it and limp it home is a bonus. That's going to save some money. So again, it'll be a fun little project, and we'll do the before, and then we'll do an after, and we'll do all the work in between. Okay, so thank you very much. Come to 20 minutes. I do greatly appreciate your time, and please subscribe, because the more people that subscribe to this particular channel, the more equipment and gear that I end up picking up. Like right now, we're on a beautiful pre-owned iMac that I bought from the exact same auction group. So again, we're at about 290 subscribers, which is really great because I think Turo, as far as the amount of people interested in Canada, is probably 280 people. So if you're into that, please subscribe. We're getting into other topics as well. So we're going to learn how to get our sales license. So I'm going through that process. As I'm going through that process, I'm doing little videos to get an idea what it's all about. And also maybe you might want to learn how to do a sales license application. We're going to go through it from the basics and go right from there. It's not as difficult as you might think. So it's one of those things where it can be an intimidating item when you go through their website and you're going to go, oh my God, you have to go to college for this. Well, no, you don't. So again, we'll get into that in videos, and we'll show you a shortcut as far as how to do that. And it's basically it's an easy thing. A lot of people get really nervous about it and get really worked up. Sales license in Ontario, again through Allenbeck, we're going to go through that as well. So it'll be a fun little process. And I started up another little channel on, well, actually a podcast on automation in Canada. So it's robots, assembly lines, talking about jobs, predominantly talking about jobs, actually. You can get all the robot information and all the technical stuff on the internet anyways. What I really want to talk about is the impacts. So in other words, I'm in automation, but I'm at the very low end of it. Like I'm essentially, if you're looking at automotive, I'd be the loop tech. Like really, that's what it boiled down to. The guy just above washing cars, changing oil. Right? That's where I'm kind of sitting in the industry. So I'm just a little cog in the machine. So it's just an opinion of mine from that standpoint. But we're going to talk about Fantic. We're going to talk about Yaskawa. We'll get into some of the things like, for instance, what's going on the floor. There is going to be a big change, not just related with tariffs, which are going to change how things are manufactured anyways. It's just speeding the process up, right? So what would have taken us 5 years is probably going to take 3 now. It's got everyone now looking kind of go, okay, we need to get that 20%. Where are you going to get it from? We're going to try and save it on the production or cost end of it, which is going to be labor. So you're going to try and save on labor. And to do that, you're going to put robots in. Like that's going to be the norm, which means the guy on the floor doing the twisty thing or putting the part together like this 100 times, 100 times, 100 times, probably is going to be replaced by a robotic arm, right? So it's one of those things where that's where that podcast is going to get. We're going to talk about that. Again, they're not related to Turo, but I think it's just one of those things that I'm interested in. So I'm really just catering to me. So I'll enjoy the podcast when I'm working. So when I'm doing the night job, I can put my earplug in and listen to me talk about automation, which is really kind of the end goal, I guess, on that one. And I did another one last year on it, and it was pretty good. I ended up selling the podcast. So someone else took it over, and which is pretty decent. So again, this is not in the same direction as that one. That one was a little more technical. This one will be a little more boots on the ground. Let's talk about employment. Let's talk about what costs are. It's interesting because when you look at the back end of it, it's one of those topics that it's not really readily available out there. I think a lot of folks will look at it. If you're in a small business, you may be thinking about doing a little bit of automation. You might go, well, what would be the cost to put one cell together? One cell would be like one arm and one little thing, building one little product or doing one application. We'll talk about that as well. So maybe you're a small business thinking about it and you're going, well, I can't compete otherwise. I've got to do something. That might keep you kind of afloat. So we'll go from there. So we're coming up to 25 minutes. I like to keep these things around 30. So again, thank you for checking them out. I know this is an unrelated type deal, but I've been doing the last 2 videos were on auctions and trying to get into another Turo vehicle. This one is just left field. Found one that I thought was a great deal, and we'll find out if it was such a great deal. If not, we're going to have some truck content. Okay? Have a pleasant and enjoyable day. And again, subscribe. Would appreciate it. If you've got any comments or any concerns, leave it in the chat section, which I don't think is on the side now. I think it's on the bottom. So leave it on the chat down below, and I will add it into the video content as we go along. I'll usually give you a little message and say, hey, thank you for messaging. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for the subscription. Thanks for the thumbs up. I will address that as a Q&A on one of the lives. Okay? So have a pleasant and enjoyable day, and we'll see you later. End stream. There we go.